3 up, 2 across, tap that play button 3 times, and walk through the archway into Dialogue Alley. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Dialogue Alley is a show about Harry Potter books, book translations, and all other things magical. I am Erik, and with me today is Melanie.
Hey!
Hey!
I actually waved. Hello there.
I know, and I looked at you because we're video chatting, so I looked right at you and I was like, it's Melanie. There she is, right there.
I know. I feel like we always announce when we're video chatting because it's not our typical scenario to be video chatting, but it's so fun when we do it.
It's fun. It makes it a little more personable, I think.
I know. I love it. It's like having a little chit chat with your buddy.
Yeah. Which is kind of what we do anyway, which is why we started this podcast.
Right. Well, tell me, why did we start this podcast? Why?
I'll tell you what. That's a great question, and I have an answer for you. It was because Melanie and I are both Harry Potter book translation collectors, which means we collect Harry Potter books in many different languages from all around the world. And not only are they in other languages, but the cover art of them is different and amazing and beautiful. And that's pretty cool as well. And Carly and I started this podcast when Melanie was on maternity leave, and then Melanie joined up, and so the three of us are here, and we talk about stuff related to Harry Potter books and the like.
That's it.
And we're pretty far into it. We're over 50 episodes now, I think.
Isn't that crazy? We just got a notification for congratulations on your 50th episode, but we're more than 50 episodes now. We're killing it.
I think for the 100th episode, I don't know what we'll do. Who knows?
The possibilities are endless, Erik.
The possibilities are endless. Endless is a little bit of a exaggeration. But anywho's, this is your first time, welcome. If this is not your first time, welcome back. We're glad you're here. And we have a pretty cool thing to talk about tonight. We don't want to dive too far into it, but it's not necessarily book translation related. It's just more book related. So
yeah, it's like a content, like a content episode, like book content episode.
Yeah, which Carly and I did that one last week. That was more of just kind of a game trivia type thing, which I like sprucing those in there because I know not everyone that listens to this is super into the translations that we are, which we still need to do stuff about that for the people that are into that because we're into that. But we're also into other things, and so are other people.
Believe it or not, the thing that got us into collecting Harry Potter translations was the fact that we really like these Harry Potter books.
We do. That's actually worth noting. It's not like I was just I'm just going to pick some random book. I don't even like this one, but this one looks good. Which maybe you could. I don't know. But it is very helpful that I really do enjoy reading these books.
Same. I love them.
So we do have some news. We're going to talk a little bit about book 1 plot stuff for our main segment. And then we have our translation of the show, which we say this every time. I love this one.
It's a really good one. It's one that we've touched on a bit in the past. And we've mentioned it a few times in other episodes. But this is going to be a nice deep dive into this book. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
Absolutely. And are we ever going to have one where later we're going to talk about a really terrible book that we don't like at all?
I mean, I will say, I feel like we did a bonus episode on Bengali, and that's a terrible. It's a terrible book.
It's pretty
bad. The quality's not good, and it is the stinkiest of books.
Yeah, there's really nothing about it, but it's cool that we have it.
Sure. Oh yeah. It's super interesting. I was very interested to learn about the language. But the book itself is it's not too hot.
Not too hot. Anyway, well let's get into some news. So we do have some news, and it's about one of my favorite topics, and it's about Funko Pops. And woo! I will let Melanie tell you more about the Funko Pops.
All right, so as many of you know, I have been on a bit of a Funko Pop hiatus ever since the LA Comic-Con exclusive debacle. I'm still
for more on exclusives, listen to our angry episode about exclusives.
Ugh. It is what it is. I feel like as of right now, I'm kind of just trying to like keep up to date. And for the most part, I am now up to date with Funko Pops until it was brought to my attention about one Funko Pop that was an exclusive just to the Funko Pop store. And that was the Hog statue, like gargoyle Funko Pop, which was so cool. And of course, I go right onto eBay and it's super expensive, except for the fact that we have one phenomenal listener who lives right by that store. And his name is Sean. And Sean was able to get me one of those Funko Pops because he's the best ever. I do this with my hands when I'm excited. My friends say it all the time. They're like, "When
I would do that too, but I'm holding my phone with my other hand, so it wouldn't work very well."
Oh my god. Yeah, my friends say, "Melanie, you always like fold your hands when you're excited." And I am, because I'm so excited to be able to get this Funko Pop. So in addition to that Funko Pop being out, if you are one that is like trying to keep up with the releases, just released today as we record this episode, because it was delivered to my house today, was the new Movie Moments Funko Pop, which is of Harry and Dumbledore at the Mirror of Erised. And it's so cool and so detailed. Harry is like looking into the mirror and he sees like the little Funko Pop versions of his parents in the mirror. And Dumbledore is like just chilling in the background. I kind of wish... My favorite Jim Kay illustration was when Harry and Dumbledore are like sitting crisscross applesauce on the floor. Like,
yeah,
that was the most, it sticks out in my head so vividly because it's just so amazing. And it's one of my favorite mentions in the book that like Dumbledore just is like chilling, sitting on the floor with this little boy, like talking to him about the Mirror of Erised. How cool is that? But so I wish that was done in this Funko Pop, but I guess you can't really show them sitting. But then there's a Hermione Pop where they're sitting. I don't know. I digress. But look how cool this is, Erik. And I'll post pictures of this.
That's really cool.
We can post it on our Instagram. But like, look how funny. Like, you could see like James,
I like that.
And you could see Lily in there, and then there's like Dumbledore with no hat, just chilling in the background, being like, "Harry, what you doing, buddy?"
Like, and as much as I don't love Funko Pops, the good ones are good. And
the good ones are really good.
They're good. And it's not even just Harry Potter Funko Pops. Funko Pops in general. There are some really good ones that I think are really fun. Unfortunately, like you mentioned one time, you feel like at some point they're just like, it's the same mold. We're just having a clear person because it's a ghost now. Like you can tell like they don't try super hard for some of them, which is like a shame because then you're kind of like obligated to get it if you collect them. But then every once in a while they come back with something like this and it's awesome and you want to put it on your shelf and look at it and cheer about it.
Especially like I'm a person, I feel like Funko Pop is like, or Funko is specifically doing for me. Like this is like playing to the audience when they do little scenes like this, because that's how I display my Funko Pops. I don't put them out like in order with their box on the shelves. Like I make little cute little story scenes with all of them because there are so many Harry Potter Funko Pops at this point. So I have so many of them on my shelves. So I feel like this is like going to be such a cute one to like put on there and be part of the story. What other news do we got?
I got some stuff. I got, switching hands here. I got my book from Russia, which was pretty cool. I posted a picture on my page, and it's the old Tanya Grotter.
That's so fun.
Which, in the magical double bass, which...
Oh my god.
I really want to read the translation now. But it's cool. I mean, I don't need more of these, but it's cool.
Wait. This is literally like the story of me right now because I'm wearing a red shirt just like she is, and there's my double bass right in the background.
There you go.
That's my double bass.
You need a little more wind in your hair. Yeah,
that was the wind going into my hair.
But remarkably, like the font of this is identical. Like I posted a picture too with like the Russian book right next to it. It's identical font. Like they just totally ripped it off. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I'm happy I got it and didn't spend that much money. I bought it for $5 on eBay.
Why not?
And it came out of Germany, so it was like $20-something to ship it. Which is not a huge deal. And it was the original cover. And actually, like, looking at the copyright, I think it's like a really early printing of this.
That's so cool.
Which is pretty cool. So it's fun. I don't need more of this. Again, I don't like support actively like plagiarism. Or
no. But
historical purpose-wise, I have one. I know Sean McAllister has one too. So, if any of you guys have a Tanya Grotter book or have read it, let me know. But I'm glad it arrived. So
it's so fun.
It's so fun. And then I got the 25th anniversary of the Bloomsbury Philosopher's Stone. Did you get that one?
I didn't get mine yet. It said that it shipped, but I don't have like any like tracking info on it. Actually, let me check it now.
Because mine shipped, and it gave me a tracking number, and it kept saying, like, label created, not yet in system. And then, like, it was like, label created, it's arriving today. And I'm like, oh, that was bizarre.
Oh, my God. I want mine so bad.
But,
login,
so we don't,
blah, blah, blah,
we don't need to talk about it as in-depth, I guess, if yours isn't here. But in general, it's really pretty cool. There's not a ton of extra stuff. Like, there's enough.
Did they do gilded edges on the side or no? They probably didn't. What a missed opportunity.
I know. And I mean, if you set it on the shelf, it's not indistinguishable because the Bloomsbury logo on the bottom, like on the yellow part, is a little bit different. But it doesn't look any different on the side besides that logo. Like it'd be like putting a Ted Smart book next to a regular Bloomsbury book, and you're like, it's Harry Potter book. You're like, oh, but this is the Ted Smart. Yeah, that's disappointing.
But you know what? I feel like I feel like us as collectors, we kind of miss out on the fact that the audience for this is like people in the UK who got these books, right? I feel like that's where this is kind of coming from. And, right. But like we take for granted that they haven't seen this cover art in so many years. They've seen Johnny Duddle. They have seen the adult covers. They've seen the modern covers, which are like the paperbacks and hardcovers that have those like bold imaging on them.
Yeah.
They've seen those covers over and over and again, and they haven't seen the original cover art in such a long time. So I feel like for them, this is probably so nostalgic and awesome to have this book. But for us, we're just like, oh my God, I look at Thomas Taylor art like every single day because I have so many versions of so many books.
And continuing on.
Not that it's bad.
No, not at all.
We love this cover, but it's like not new to us.
Right. And I was telling someone else, I can't remember who, but like the Grand Prix books are still in our stores. So it's not like those ever went away. Like we have all these other covers, like we got the Kibuishi cover. You see the Duddle covers if they have like a Spanish book in there, like you see the new Spanish cover, like you see all these new covers that are in there, but we still see the Grand Prix original 7 covers in the store. You can buy one brand new right now at the store. Hardcover or softcover. So it's not like, if they came out with the 25th anniversary and it was just like the Grand Prix cover and it was like, it looked like this UK one, I'd be slightly disappointed because I'm like, well, I see this book all the time. And if you're just going to tack in 20 pages of extra stuff at the end, like, yeah, but I would like there to be another one like the 10th anniversary book with the Mirror of Erised cover.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Like just something
awesome
special looking. Us. Yeah. I mean, they did put a shiny silver sticker on there, so there's that.
Because it's the silver anniversary. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like doing just all they had to do is do the silver side edge. Like just do the side edge in silver would have been so iconic and it would have been so gorgeous and it would have been just such a nice like little touch. I don't know. I feel like I would have appreciated the book so much. Wait, should I buy a second copy and then just like take silver and just paint the sides?
Take a silver Sharpie and just there you go.
Anything else? Any other books? Any other fun things?
No, not really. I mean, I did watch I watched the newest movie, Secrets of Dumbledore. I watched it in 2 parts.
I'm so proud of you.
Thanks. Yeah, we made it through.
Good job.
I
don't say anything. I think we should do we gotta wait for Carly to watch it, and then we have to do like a whole thing.
Okay. That sounds fair.
But I'm so happy you finally watched it. I mean,
too.
You could text me and tell me what you thought about it.
I will do that.
Yay.
I will do that.
Oh my gosh. All right, should we go on to our main segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm pretty excited for our main segment today because this is something that is often a topic of conversation in my house when it comes to any type of Harry Potter plot discussion. Because sure, we can go here and we could talk about, wait a second, Harry, did you notice that Ron had dirt on his nose and that's why Hermione has, I don't know, it says that he has dirt on his nose. I don't know. You could talk about any major plot points to death anytime you read the books, but something that's really fun that we talk about in my house often are the what ifs. And we often get into these what if discussions and how the plot would drastically change. So we're going to kind of make a series out of this, I think, where we'll go book by book and kind of discuss how we think things would change if one simple thing, like butterfly effect. What if one simple thing changed in the book? How would it drastically affect things down the line? Because I feel like there are some things that are very simple that could change really big things. All right, Erik. So the first one we're going to chat about is, what if Neville never received the Remembrall? So think about it for a second.
So it wouldn't improve his memory at all because it didn't, right? But if he... I mean, he forgot to remember all. That's kind of the... Which I always thought was kind of interesting. You buy something to help you remember stuff, but, you have to remember to look at the thing.
Yeah, or you have to, what if I forget what I forgot?
Which he says.
Right. I can't remember what I've forgotten.
It's yeah.
Okay, but I'm thinking
you're thinking
about
of
this
the
a
next
lot
scene,
deeper.
Right, of when they go to the flying lessons and Malfoy steals it, and that's how Harry ends up being on the Quidditch team. Right.
So that's how Harry turns on, becomes this amazing flyer, and that's how he figures out that he has this knack for flying, and this is also how he becomes the seeker for the Quidditch team. Now, here's the thing that I think about that's the deeper thought of oh my God, what if? But okay, so if he didn't become the seeker on the Quidditch team and never caught the first snitch, what was Dumbledore supposed to hide the stone in?
Probably a Tamagotchi
all
pet.
The way down. I know, but what do you how do you think Dumbledore would have gotten the resurrection stone to him if he didn't have this one specific vessel that clearly only Harry can open?
I don't know. Maybe
with his mouth.
He could have stolen. No, because he could have gotten Harry to shove it into his moleskin bag that Hagrid gave him.
Okay, but it had to have been an item of Dumbledore's, because remember, Dumbledore knew that these items were going to be searched once he died. He knew that.
Yeah.
He knew that they were going to look really deep into his Tales of the Beetle, the Bard, and that's why they confiscated the Sword of Gryffindor. So they did heavily examine the snitch, and that's something that's left out kind of in the movie. And in the movie, right away, Harry takes the snitch, and Scrimgeour thinks that something is going to happen, but nothing happens.
Right.
Because Harry knew right away that he caught the first snitch with his mouth. In the movies, that doesn't happen, but he has this specific container that only he can open, and he can only open it in his own secret way because he's the only one that knows that he caught it with his mouth. Or Dumbledore knows, whatever, and whoever else was there, but Scrimgeour doesn't know that.
But then, see, I always wonder about that, though, because he doesn't open it until he, says, I'm going to die, and then it opens up. So, Dumbledore did something to it.
No, he enchanted it with the "I open at the close," but he sees the "I open at the close" inscription when he puts it to his mouth.
Right, but then it doesn't actually
Which
open.
happens early on.
But then later on, it only actually does open when he's like, I'm going to die, and then it opens up.
Right, but, like, do you think that they're, like, would they have had to come up with some, I guess this is like a J.K. Rowling thing, and she would have had to come up with another magically enchanting item, like it just so happens that the Illuminator goes into Ron's chest and brings him to the person he loves.
He could have hidden it somewhere, and it could have proposed some They could have had like some cryptic quest in the Beetle the Bard book, and then they could have directed them to look for it.
But that doesn't make, I feel like that doesn't make like literary sense, because if you think about it, like that's all they spend book 7 doing is like being on this quest. So like another item that they have to quest for. Oh, now in addition to questing for Horcruxes, we also have to quest for the Hallows. Like, yes, that's the whole part of the Hallows, is that you're supposed to be like looking for them. But Dumbledore clearly had all 3 of them. So
they would have just made 2 Hallows. I'm kidding. They would have just cut that all out. Like, nah, we're just gonna go. We're gonna go with 2.
Literally just be a triangle with a line,
with
no
one
circle.
line. Just that's
one
it.
Line.
That's it.
The tale of 2 brothers.
Yep, that's it. That's problem
solved. Instead of 3. All right. So that's the gist of this what if sort of thing, right? We got one of these topics, and like. Think of it's a rabbit hole heaven, just like thinking about all of the places this sort of thing can go.
Oh yeah, well, and if you have ideas listening and you want to throw them out there, you can always send them to us. Or we're on our Discord right now, which you can be a part of if you're part of our Patreon subscribers monthly, and people can throw stuff on there now. But we do have like specific episode discussions where you can discuss it with other people that have heard the episode too. So you can bounce ideas off each other. I think that'd be a fun thing to do also.
Yeah, totally. We could definitely like schedule something ahead of time where we can like chat about this. But we do have a few people that are listening to us live right now as we're chatting. So like if you guys have any ideas of these kinds of discussion questions, let us know. All right. Next topic is, what if Dumbledore explained the function of the Mirror of Erised to Harry? What if, in the scene that I showed you with my Funko Pop, where Dumbledore shows up and he sees Harry with the mirror, instead of him just saying, oh, hey, I'm going to move the mirror, he also said, this mirror is pretty magical, and one of the biggest things about it is if your greatest desire is something that you want to possess, then you will see yourself in the mirror possessing that item, but if you want to possess it but not use it, then you can never actually obtain it. Like, if he just explained that to Harry.
Just said, this is where I'm going to hide it.
Like,
I'm putting it in the basement.
Listen, he's Dumbledore. Dude knows everything that's going on. For the most part, there are a few things that, like, I could talk about Dumbledore, and I'm like, how did Dumbledore not think to ask Moaning Myrtle how she died? You know? But Dumbledore knew that Harry was after the stone. Like, let's be real. He knew that that was happening. So if he was just honest with him and was like, I mean, there are so many times I can say, well, what if Dumbledore was just honest with Harry instead of trying to protect him, la la la. But if he just said to him, like, hey, there's literally no way that Quirrell can get the stone.
Right, don't worry about it, dude. I got it taken care of.
Right? Like, go to sleep. Go in your cute little bed in your cute little dormitory.
Lose the house cup.
Curtains.
Like, take the loss.
Yeah, that's another, like, what if. Like, just accept it. Accept that you're not going to win this year. Totally cool. It's okay. I know it's only book 1. So maybe we'll try again next year. But those are all things.
They make way too big of a deal about that in the first couple books. And especially in the first movie.
Oh my god!
Where it's like, we won the house cup, yes! And then you're clapping along, you're like cheering, you're like, yes! In like the Jim Dale audiobook, it's like, you would have thought a bomb exploded in the Great Hall with the noise, and everyone's cheering and hugging, and Neville was being thrown around. And like, reading it or watching the movie, you're like, yes. And then like it ends and you're like, so what did that really get them? Did that get them anything? Did they get, what'd they get? Nothing.
Brownie points.
They get like
Brownie points.
Did they get like a swag bag or something? Like, nope. No.
Like one of those drawstring backpacks.
Nothing.
With their house on it and their name.
Which, you get to skip finals next year? No. Nope.
But going back to like that whole point. Okay, so Harry doesn't go down the trapdoor, right? There's all of these things First of all, you don't need all of these other things protecting the stone.
No.
If you have this mirror that literally its one job is, guess what, Quirrell? You could never get this stone. No matter what you do, you're never going to get it.
This point.
Like, we don't need Fluffy. We don't need
keys.
We don't need any devil snare. No enchanted keys. No chess set. We don't need any of that.
No.
If all we have to do is just explain to Harry, whatever you do, don't go down there. Like, all of these things were set up for, like, people like Harry who are interfering in everything that was going on.
Right.
But, okay, so...
how good would you feel? How good would you feel as one of the teachers that, like, put one of those traps down there, and it's like, oh, gosh, this 11-year-old kid just breezed through all of them in, like, 20 minutes? Like, God. I call myself a magic person. Like, man, this is terrible.
They got past the keys. They got past my chess. It
also reminds me of like the 60s Batman TV show. Did you ever watch any of that?
No.
Like the really hokey one where it's
I know what you're talking about.
Any superhero thing was like, instead of just chopping your head off right now, Batman, I'm actually going to tie you to this log and wrap you around it and put you on this conveyor belt that will ever so slowly bring you towards this giant buzzsaw. And
it's like Austin Powers.
It is exactly. It's going to take half an hour, and I'm going to leave. But you're pretty much done for. So bye. You know, like no. It also, this scenario that you just described reminds me of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is one of my favorite movies. But they like totally poke the biggest hole in it. Well, I mean, most people have, but in the Big Bang Theory show, when they're like, Indiana Jones has no effect on the whole plot. Like, if the Nazis had found the Ark and opened it and looked inside, it would have destroyed them all. And that's it. So, like,
that's what I'm saying.
The same thing would have happened without Indiana Jones going through a country to country, continent to continent, shooting at people and getting in these battles. Like, no, the same outcome would have happened. Although, in this case, the same outcome wouldn't have happened because Quirrell wouldn't have gotten the stone anyway. He would have just been stuck in the dungeon for, like, hours.
But, like, would he have gotten stuck down there? Would he, like, now he's stuck as the Half-Life with Voldemort? Would Voldemort, like, find a different host at that point and be like, Quirrell, you failed me, you're useless, let me find a different host and find another means of coming back? Would he, like, would Quirrell continue on as Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher because he's still alive?
I don't know.
And just keep having Voldemort on the back of his head?
Like you look kind of funny. I'm fine. I'm
like,
totally
how do
fine.
we think it would be if Quirrell was like, even if he wasn't Defense Against the Dark Arts, but he was like still a teacher like the second year, and Quirrell's still there with Voldemort in the back of his head, and Voldemort's like, I know who opened the Chamber of Secrets. It was me, but not me, but it was me as a child. La la la. But I have a lot of what if, like fun what ifs.
But he'd also be like, who's giving my Horcruxes away to kids?
Right. I know. Who did that? Did that?
I thought this was safe. Look at there it is. It's in a toilet.
Lucius, you're the worst. All right. Next what if. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I have 5 here written down, but I don't know if we're going to get to all 5.
Yeah, I don't know if we will either, because we want to leave time to talk about this spectacular book that's sitting in front of me. That's not Tanya Grotter, because it's also in front of me. I'm going to move that to the left side.
Let's talk about one more.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about one more, and then we'll see where we get from there. Okay, so the next one is, what if Harry and Ron did not defeat the troll?
In the bathroom? Like where Hermione became their friend?
That's literally the iconic part where Hermione becomes their friend.
Again, 2 11-year-old kids, like, defeating a troll.
I mean, it was very impressive. They got house points and everything. But, like, what if they went in and Ron said Leviosa instead of Leviosa and couldn't defeat the troll? What if that happened?
Well, I don't...
Make the Ga nice and long. Ga. Wingardium.
You would have thought, like, the position that Hermione was in with no friends at that point, too. Like, I don't know. You could have argued that they could have still become friends under a different scenario.
Or maybe Hermione would have seen, like, just the gesture of them trying to save her would have been, like, heroic enough that she would still become their friends. Or what if they just, like, locked the door, the troll in the dungeon, like they locked the troll in the bathroom and just like went back, look at us, we locked the troll, let's go tell McGonagall about
Hermione
it. And then
there.
just like, and Hermione didn't know, and now she's just locked in with the
she would have been kind of a tertiary character that made a short appearance in book 1. It'd be it'd be more of a Game of Thrones character. You'd be like, oh, this person's going to be important. You'd be like, oh, actually, they're dead. They're not going to be important.
See, this I feel like gets into like Cursed Child territory, because this is like similar with like Cursed Child as far as like butterfly effect and how like one little thing can change so much. But like, okay, well, if Harry and Ron never became friends with Hermione, then like Ron and Hermione, maybe they wouldn't end up together. Like, how would they defeat the Horcruxes without Hermione?
They would probably have Lavender Brown with them. My sweetheart.
Oh, 1-1. I know, but like, also they wouldn't have been able to decipher Tales of Beetle the Bard because none of them took ancient runes. So how would they know about the Deathly Hallows?
Right. Well, I think Dumbledore would have to come up with something else. He'd have to give him like a comic book that was like, hey, there's the Deathly Hallows.
A graphic novel.
A graphic novel. Hey, you guys, check out this picture of these things. And then the ministry would have it confiscated and be like, we know what you're doing.
I feel like there's a million things that we can think of. Like, if just the plot point was that they weren't friends with Hermione, like, okay, they never would have known that the beast in the Chamber of Secrets was a basilisk. Like, hello, like that's a huge thing. They probably wouldn't have figured out that it was in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Technically, they did do that when she was petrified, but like she wrote how the basilisk was traveling and how to be okay getting past the basilisk.
They wouldn't have had the polyjuice potion.
No, but did they really find out that much?
They just found out. They found out that it wasn't.
They found out it wasn't Malfoy. Right. That was it.
Which that is like cool. I mean, we're not talking about book 2, but as cool as that plot point was, you're right. It really didn't end in anything. It was just kind of like, we did that.
Here's the thing, and this is probably why Half-Blood Prince is my favorite book, is that in every other book, the whole book is, oh my God, it's Draco and it's Snape. It's Draco and Snape. Every single book, it's Draco and Snape. They're the bad guys. I bet you this time it's Draco and Snape. And guess what? In Half-Blood Prince, it's Draco and Snape.
I keep bringing in these outside references. Did you ever watch the show A Pup Named Scooby-Doo? A pup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. Those were like
so
actual
good.
like trying to solve the mystery. Like,
yeah, but it's like when they're all like little, but the one where they're all little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the beginning of every episode, it's like the crime happens, and like Fred is always like, I know who did it, Red Herring, and there's like a kid named Red Herring in their neighborhood, and he's like, I didn't do it, and he never does, except for one episode. They actually have Red Herring be the bad guy, and you're like, yes, and like they solve it right away. Like Fred's like, I know who did it, Red Herring, and they like turn the corner, and there he is, and they're like, oh, you did do it.
But that's what I mean. Every single time, it's always Snape and Draco being the bad guys, except that it never is them, except the one time that it is.
I know, but they do some pretty shady stuff. It's not like, you're quit framing me for this. It's like, no, dude, Malfoy's a scuzzy kid who's mean, and he steals things from children and says racist stuff. He's just a bad dude.
But you know what isn't bad? It's the translation of the show.
So the translation of the show is a book that we have. Melanie mentioned this. We've talked about it before, and we've talked about it on our episode where we discuss all of the German books, which is a great episode because if you haven't realized this by now, if you haven't listened to any of those episodes, we mention a lot of the time that the German books are amazing. Their art is outstanding. There are so many different versions of the German books that are different. They don't just keep repurposing the same art over and over and over. From the anniversary edition book to the box sets to the just original 7, they're amazing. And Germany has actually put out a couple book club versions, and one of them is the book we're going to talk about today. Right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a few. Yeah. I know we've talked about there are book club editions that have these like it's the same original cover art, but they have like this colored border kind of on the cover. That's one version of the book club editions. But the one that we're going to be talking about today is standalone cover art, standalone book for just book 1.
Yeah. They didn't do any other versions of this 2 through 7. It's just book 1. And I don't know, like what would we call this book? I mean, I'm assuming there's an actual name for it.
I feel like I've always just called it like the Colorful Book Club. Colorful Book Club.
I mean, it's derclub.de is the site that it's quoted on the back flap. It's not the official book terms. Carly would be really ashamed.
The back flap.
The back flap.
The back flap. Oh yeah, derclub.de. Let's do a little hunting there. derclub.de. Let's see what that brings up. Oh, guess what? That website doesn't exist, so that's cool.
Oh.
Yeah. This book, we have no idea where it's from.
The club has been disbanded.
That's so sad.
The club is over.
This book does definitely still exist. And something that I mentioned, like fun fact about this book, is like this is a book that Peter and I feel like became friends over.
Yeah, you mentioned that story on another episode.
I did. That's what's one of my favorite things. Like every single time I see this book, I think about that. So, it makes it a special book. We have done German stuff in the past, so like German books in the past, so I feel like we don't really need to go into the info really about the German language.
No, we don't need to cover anything about the German language. Nothing's changed.
Nope, still, Carlson, same translator. It's all there right in the copyright page, which I know for a fact because I sat here and translated the copyright page before doing this episode.
Yes, and this was a book that when I looked at a picture, I don't remember whose site. It might have been on Peter's site, actually, or yours. But anyway, I saw a picture of it and was like, I want it. And I already had German, and I don't collect just tons of books but like this is one that the cover is so cool that I needed to have it.
Oh, it's awesome. I felt the same way. I was like, wait a sec. I didn't know that it was a book club edition when I first discovered the book. I just thought
Nor did I.
Another German book with this cover art. And I was just like, that's so cool. I have to have that book. So
yeah, I almost thought too, like it was an Iceland type situation where like I was so like novice at this at the time, and I was like, yeah, maybe like this was the first one, and then they're like, we don't like this art style, we're gonna go with someone else, and so they came out with the other ones, which that's not the case, right? If you just look at the copyright date, like you would rule that out immediately, but I wasn't digging too far into it at the time, but now we know better.
Yeah, it is a book club.
It's a book club.
Let's tots.
Let's tots it up. But before that, is it what rarity? What would you give this?
I'd put it on I would put it like as a 2, 3. I feel like it's not that rare. I feel like they pop up, especially on eBay. They pop up every so often. I would maybe leaning more toward a 3.
I would say 3. I haven't seen as many sell recently, but when I was
feel like
looking
for me,
for
that's
it,
because
there were
I'm
a
not looking
ton.
for it. I feel like that's a thing. I feel like if I was looking for it, I'd feel like I'd be able to find it.
Yeah, and if you go on Amazon Germany, it's like you'll probably find one for sale.
Yeah, Amazon Germany is what a good resource.
Yeah, along with all the other countries' Amazon sites or
totally.
eBay Germany too. Like if you look at eBay listings for particular countries, like
yeah, you'll be able to find this
helpful.
book. That's why I was saying it's like a 2-ish, 3. Like if you're looking for it, you're going to be able to find it.
Yeah, when I say Amazon Germany, like you're not going to buy a brand new copy on Amazon Germany, but like you could find a used seller that's selling
sure.
Potentially, which is how like a lot of us have found some books just from the used marketplace. But let's smell it.
You know what? Let's just go ahead and smell it. Let's smell
this book. I'm going to smell it.
It's like Erik's whole video cam just came up with this whole book. I would give it I would give it exceeds expectations. I really like it.
I agree. I was going to say exceeds.
It definitely has a smell, but it's like you're right. It's not like distinct. Like I can't tell
you what it is.
No, but it's good.
But I like smelling it. Melanie's back
like
for smell number 5 or 6 right there. I don't know how many smells you got in.
I love smelling the book. That's why we do the tots, and why we smell the book is because I'm a psycho and I have to smell every single book as I get them. First thing I do, open it and smell it.
Open and smell. Size and proportions. Personally, I think this book is a little like it's good. It's good, but I think it's taller than it is wide proportion wise, like as it should be. But I think it's a little bit too tall compared to the width. Just a little bit, like just a tiny bit.
If it was just slightly more square, it would probably be a bit nicer. I would give it like an acceptable, I think.
I give it an acceptable. If it was to stop like at the top of the Harry Potter,
that's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly.
That's where like the perfect proportions for me would be.
I totally agree with that.
It's just a little bit too tall for me.
100. I was thinking the exact same thing. We are on the exact same page.
Yes.
No pun intended, because it's a book. Because page on the same page.
And my book is closed right now, so I don't know what page you're on. But yours is too. So that's A. We both gave it an A, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. How it feels in your hands, just by feeling the cover. Like the cover feels really nice. At least the paper.
Yeah, it's very glossy. It's it's not glossy sheen wise, but texture wise, it feels very smooth. And also if you slide the jacket up a little bit and feel the actual boards, it has like ribbing to it, which is real satisfying.
Well, let me do that here.
That's
set my camera down here.
That is very nice.
Okay, sliding the cover. Oh, it
cool,
does,
right?
Indeed.
It's like a really like discreet texture that's on there, but it's really cool. Yeah, I would say how it feels in your hands. I would give it an exceeds expectations. I really like the texture of the jacket. I really like the texture of the boards, and also I feel like what I don't like about the proportions is the height of the book, but I like how it feels in my hand as far as thickness goes.
Yeah, and I just opened mine like to a random page in the middle, and it for my size hands, like this feels really good to just hold it open.
Yeah, no, it's
and
nice.
Read it. So, hooray for that!
Love it.
What did I give it? What did you give it?
I gave it an exceeds expectations.
I think that's what I gave it. I don't know if I said it out loud. Exceeds expectations for me. Quality of the book. I don't know. I feel like the jacket, like if you open up the jacket on the inside, it's very thin. Like the jacket itself is very thin. It holds up really well, but it feels like it's almost like a magazine that was cut out.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that could bend and crease really easily. I don't think it's going to tear. But
no, it's a thick enough material that like it would take some force, I feel like, to do some damage to it. However, I will say the book itself, because it's a book club edition, it's not the best quality book. So I would give it more of like a pour as far as quality overall. Also, like mine has a terrible spine lean that it's just developed just for existing. And I feel like that's because like these book club editions weren't made to be good quality. If you look at like the US book club editions, it's thinner paper and there's no embossing on it. They're not made to be like these high-end books. They're made to be book club books. So, you know what? No, I'm going to move it up to an acceptable, and here's why. Just because there's a ribbon bookmark.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, but how can you give any book a pour, except for Bengali, when there is a ribbon bookmark in it?
Here's the thing. Ribbon bookmark, it's like when you had to do like a book report in high school and it like boosted you a letter grade like for extra credit. Like I feel like when you have a ribbon bookmark, it boosts you a letter grade. So I'll give it an acceptable.
It's like the coupon you get for a free assignment. You're just like, oh, and actually I have a free 10 points I can add to this assignment with this coupon I got for not using any of my bathroom passes last semester. What kind of reward system is that?
No,
Did you ever have something like that?
No, we used to have like, I don't know, if you like answered like bonus questions on every single test and got them right, then it would like boost you a letter grade. Or if you did like an extra credit assignment, like then it would boost your letter grade. Like I had certain things like that. But
okay.
That's how I feel with this. Ribbon bookmark, boost the letter grade. I will give it an acceptable.
Yes. I was going to say I can't give this book a pour because I don't have that spine lean, so like I agree with everything else you're saying, but to me the book is just fine, which is average, so I'm giving it an A for that, and it has the bookmark too, but you can tell kind of going into, well, I guess this isn't really cover art interpretation, but like looking at it from far away, it looks pretty like zesty. You're like, yeah. But then it's not quite as good when you're holding it as when you see it. Like if you just saw a picture of it versus like you're actually holding it. Like it's a little bit more disappointing when you're actually up close.
I agree with that. I can agree with that. However, getting into the cover art, it's an outstanding. Like this cover art is so spectacularly gorgeous. It's so bold. It looks like the artwork was done with like pastels. Like you know, like not crayon, but like the pastel, whatever. Are they called pastels?
Oil pastels.
Oil pastels.
Oil pastels, yeah.
Because it's very like blended, or it looks like it could have been done in crayon, like honestly, which is so cool because that's just, it looks like it would have a texture to it, just the way that all of the colors are on it. But all of the colors are so vivid on this book that it's absolutely outstanding. Outstanding cover art. Love.
I agree, and I like how the spine of the book is very unassuming. Mm-hmm. And then you open and you're like, oh, it just hits you. You're like, there it is. It's awesome.
It's beautiful. And I feel like that's what drew us to this book. It wasn't the fact that like I don't collect book club editions for every country, but I had to have this book club edition because of this cover art.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know who the paintings in the back are kind of strange. Like,
I'm wondering if those are supposed to be like the founders. Like
if
one
so,
of them is
the men have a very strange hairstyle.
They're all looking a little weird.
The dude on the far left who's holding that like crystal ball. You know, kind of like, ooh, it looks like a trading card pose. Like, here, paint me. I'm going to stand still for hours at a time like this. Because I want to look like a total cool dude in the hallway.
The other one is, he's doing like one of these.
Yeah, and his neck is really long. The guy next to him.
Yeah. Yeah, they all look like a little weird. But wait, can we just talk about the stock image owl that's just chilling on the T?
That is the only unnecessary part of the entire cover.
It's like, if you didn't know that this was a Harry Potter book, based on the cover. Let's just throw an owl on it, and then everyone will know. That's it.
And I don't like that because it's not done in the oil pastel.
No, but I think it's silly,
just
so
like
I still love it.
a picture of a real owl.
I think it's funny, so I like it.
I do too. And what's the deal with like the like toilet paper on the hat?
I don't know. Like, he's thinking. It's the Sorting Hat.
But why is it like he's gotten like TP'd?
He's
like
old.
kids are.
Like,
I
he's
guess.
always. It's like how you like your grandpa like always carries like a handkerchief. Like maybe he's like a little grandpa hat and he always has a little handkerchief. What if he gets emotional singing his songs and he needs to like dab his little Sorting Hat eyes?
I guess then he can use that like big cloth around the base part. I don't know why he needs that like droopy saggy cloth.
Look how big Harry's feet are. Like those are some big feet.
Oh boy, and they're pointy.
Big pointy feet. Mm-hmm.
Big pointy feet. We've talked about like all the great things about this cover. I think it's kind of disappointing that the back is just like the same picture from the front.
Nah, I love it. I don't know.
I wish
I love
like
it.
the fact that they like put another picture on the back. I always wish they'd put something different on the back. It's like, if you didn't get enough of it, here it is again on the back. But that's me being really
yeah, you're being picky. So yeah, that's it. That's our translation. It's our translation of the show.
It is. It's a good one.
And that is gonna wrap up this episode of Dialogue Alley Podcast. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can always send us an email to our Gmail email, which is dialoguealleypodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on Instagram. You could talk to Carly at All the Pretty Books, Erik at Nocturne Erik, or me at the Harry Potter Collection. You could also access us on our Dialogue Alley Podcast Instagram, which is at, you guessed it, Dialogue Alley Podcast.
I knew it.
That's where you're going to see any pictures of any of the books that we talked about today, particularly this super awesome book club German edition book.
And we will get better at updating that. I did realize that we were very behind on that.
We were behind, and I was really trying to catch us up on there. I will be 100% honest and say that I have been very into TikTok lately, and I have been on TikTok like it's nobody's business, but I stink at Instagram as of late. So you can guess what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. You can follow me on TikTok.
Wow.
The Harry Potter Collection on TikTok. There I am. I post a lot of things about my books, but also a lot of really cute things about my baby. So
I don't even have the app on my phone.
It's addicting. I literally just sit there and scroll
That's why I
TikTok.
have not downloaded the app on
it's
my
so
phone.
fun. It's so fun. So yeah, you can also find me on TikTok. If you want to find even more pictures of the books that we talk about, you could either go to Carly's website, which is alltheprettybooks.net, or you can go to my website, which is theharrypottercollection.com. I recently did a pretty decent update to my website, so there should be a lot more content on there that you would be able to have access to. But one of the coolest things that we've been doing, it's not TikTok, but it's our Patreon. And by joining us on Patreon, supporting us on there, you can have access to our Discord, which is a really great resource for other Harry Potter translation collectors. And it's a really cool, safe space to just chat about Harry Potter or life or anything. We're all just like fun people chatting about stuff. It's really cool. We've been having a lot of fun on there.
I'm more impressed because it's like a group discussion, right? It's not just like you're messaging me and I'm responding with something. Like someone will ask a question like, hey, I'm looking for this book. And 4 people will respond and be like, this is where I found it. This is where I found it. Or I'm also looking. Let's team up. Or have you thought about doing this? It's a really good place to do that.
I wish we had like a success story tab where people can say like what books they acquired from having access to our Discord, because I feel like that's one of the coolest things is if you are a translation collector and you're stuck on a certain book and you don't know where to get it from, we might have that answer for you, which is really cool. So you can join the discussion by supporting us on Patreon, and you could find that at patreon.com/dialoguealley. And just as always, thanks so much to everyone that's already supporting us on Patreon. We are coming up with some new ideas to give back a little bit more to our Patreon members, and we're really excited about what it is going to mean for our podcast in the future. But if you are just listening to us on either Apple or Google or Spotify or any of those podcast hosting locations, please leave us a written review and spread the word of our podcast to any of your other Harry Potter friends. I was just telling someone the other day that I have a Harry Potter podcast, and someone saw the bumper sticker on my car that has the podcast on it. So, tell your friends about this podcast. We don't just talk about Harry Potter translations. We talk about other Harry Potter things too, like what we did in this episode. That's pretty much it. So with all of that being said, now it is time to walk back through the archway and into your daily lives, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
See ya.